There's a title. Okay. Where's that? There. Nope. Go down. Okay. Oh, let me grab my glasses. Well, hello. Alright. Let's see. Where we left off on part 2. And it has kind of a little intro. Reader, do you believe in fate? Do you believe that somewhere there's a grand plan for each of us? That our lives are written in the stars? That our lives are written for us? If so, then we might as well consider ourselves to be characters and our lives a story. Or maybe you believe that we fall into our future blindly, drifting from adventure to adventure, our journey zigzagging not according to plan, but according to pure chance. Or just maybe, as random and haphazard as our lives seem, maybe that's exactly what the author had in mind. When Jules disappears, there's a bracing gust of wind that rattles my bureau. This is Delilah's point of view. Strips my sheets and rips the posters from my walls. Something strikes me in the face and tumbles to the ground. I reach out to grab it, a jeweled tiara. And in the next breath, sprawled on the floor in a cloud of silk and tulle and long blonde hair is Seraphima. I grabbed her shoulders and haul her upright. What did you do with my friend? She stares back at me wide-eyed. I don't know. I was putting on some lip gloss, and then all of a sudden, I was here. Her gaze travels past me to fall on Frump, and she bursts out into tears. It's been so awful. Without your command, everything's out of control, and the servants have left the castle. No one's taking care of me. Her voice drops to an embarrassed whisper. I had to brush my own hair. Frump yelps in response, and Seraphima nods. That's so very kind of you to say, but I know I don't look as flawless as I usually do. Wait, Oliver says, stepping forwards. You can understand him? Seraphima hurls herself into Oliver's embrace, and both Frump and I stiffen. Ollie, she cries, you're here too? This is just the best surprise ever. She claps her hands and smiles. I want to thank you all for being here. I had no idea that you were planning this. It's not even my birthday for another month. She beams. I will be accepting presents now. This isn't a party for you. Hi! I am in a tent. That is correct. Tent. This isn't a party for you, Oliver says. Frump barks and Seraphima blushes. He said, I don't look a day over 16, she translates. How can you talk to him? Oh, Ollie, what did you think princesses do in finishing school? I am homeless, and I'm not a sir. I am a woman. You're fine. So this is... It's called Off the Page. It's by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. Basically, it's high school drama. I happen to get this out of one of those like little libraries, but My computer can't play games right now, and normally I stream video games, so instead I'm streaming a live reading. I live in Nebraska. Oh, Ollie, what did you think that princesses do in finishing school? I live in a tower. My best friend for 4 years was a bird. I'm fluent in animal, except fish. They always sound a little muddled to me. She glances at me. Peasant, might you draw me a bath? It's been a trying travel day. No, Seraphima, this is Delilah. Because I'm in a camping spot and there's electricity. I have a laptop. But my internet's not strong enough, so I can't actually use it, even with data. Hotspot. Oh, sorry, she smiles at me. Delilah, might you draw me a bath? It's been a very trying travel day. I fold my arms. I am not her slave. Frump trots out of the bedroom, and a moment later I hear running water in the bathroom. He returns, his tail wagging. Thank you so much, Frump. She raises her brows at Oliver. You really should train your servants better, Oliver. She sweeps out of the room. Delilah, come attend to me. I glance at Oliver, furious. Please, keep eggs, just this once. I follow Seraphima into the bathroom. She stands with her arms extended. I grit my teeth and unlace the back of her gown. Are we good? Seraphima clears her throat. She is now wearing nothing but a thin cotton shift, which is apparently too heavy for her to remove by herself. I pull it up over her head, and she turns around, buck naked. You're a peach, she simpers. And before I can step away, she throws her arms around me for a hug of gratitude. Honestly, the last thing I need to know is that underneath all her clothes, my boyfriend's ex is just as perfect as her face looks on any given day. I leave Seraphima to her own devices in the bath. Knowing her, she'll probably drown, and head into my bedroom. Oliver has located the fairy tale, which exploded out of Jules' hands the moment before she vanished. The book is already open. I don't understand, he says. What do you mean they're missing? I peer over Oliver's shoulder to see Orville shaking his head. We've got a search party out for them right now, but the Fairies in Socks has already canvassed every page and every margin of this book, and we cannot locate them anywhere. The book isn't long, I chime in, and seriously, how hard could it be to find a punk rock chick in a fairy tale? Revskulia's painting lost posters. The mermaids are doing a dive and rescue search. I promise you, as soon as we know anything, we'll send a message. How? Oliver points out, exasperated. The magic easel is broken. Good point, Orville muses. We'll keep checking in, I suggest. Frump whimpers. What should you do with Seraphima? Orville repeats. Oliver frowns. Am I the only one here who doesn't speak dog? I suppose I just try to keep her from getting into too much trouble. Orville continues, and he grins at Oliver. I believe you have a bit of experience just doing that, Ollie, don't you? Oliver gently closes the book as Frump scratches at the door to get out. No doubt so that he can take up guard duty outside the bathroom. Oliver, I say, we can't do this. A strange girl, emphasis on the strange, can't just show up in my room without raising some suspicions. And what am I supposed to tell Jules' mom? Oliver reaches for Jules' iPhone, plugged in and charging. Why can't Jules tell her? He asks. Do that thing you do with this. You're brilliant. I grab the phone from his hands and text Jules' mom. Can I stay over to Delilah's for the whole weekend? I hold my breath, waiting for a response. A moment later, there's a ding. Did you finish all of your homework? Yep, I type. Don't stay up too late. There, Oliver says. One problem solved. Only temporarily. I bought us 2 days, but what if Jules isn't back by then? She will be, he says, reassuring me. And Seraphima, how am I supposed to explain to my mother why Jules and some delusional princess have exchanged places? Suddenly, an idea dawns. It's a long shot, but maybe I can convince my mother and everyone else that Seraphima is a visiting exchange student. And it would go a long way towards explaining her lack of knowledge about, well, everything in an American household. I turn to Oliver. We're going to tell everyone she's from another country. Which one? I think for a moment. What language would people be least likely to know? The last thing I want is someone attempting to communicate with Seraphima in her so-called mother tongue. Iceland, I decide. Oliver nods. That almost sounds real. That's because it is real. From the hallway comes a bark, and then, yoo-hoo, Delilah, I'm ready to be towel dry. I glance at Oliver. I'm not doing it. I absolutely categorically refuse. He bites his lower lip. Of course, well, I suppose I could help her. I shove him so hard that he staggers backwards. Not on your life, I answer. At the threshold, I turn around. She'd better be gone by Monday. When Oliver leaves for the night to go home, my mother is still out on her date with Dr. Ducharme, buying me a little more time to perfect my story before I have to introduce Seraphima to her. I've let Seraphima borrow my robe to wear over her thin shift, and I've had the dubious pleasure of brushing her hair 100 strokes with what I insisted was definitely a 100% boar bristle brush, just like the one she had in her tower, and not a $1 comb from a drugstore. All right, I announce, it's time to go to bed. I lift the sleeping bag Jules brought over and hand it to her, but it falls right through her arms. With a sigh, I unroll the sleeping bag perpendicular to my bed. There you go, I say, gesturing to the makeshift mattress. Seraphima delicately lifts her cotton gown, stepping gingerly onto the purple sleeping bag as if it's a red carpet. She walks the length of it and then promptly crawls into my bed. This is lovely, she says, pulling the covers up to her chin. Lovely, I mutter. I slip into the sleeping bag just in time for Frump to use me as a springboard to jump onto the bed beside Seraphima. Try to get a good night's rest, I say. Oh, I always do, Seraphima replies earnestly. Beauty sleep is critical. You sleep well too, she says, glancing at me. It looks like you've missed a few hours. Frump yowls, curling at her feet. You're so sweet, Seraphima says to him. But I'm not sure I could be more beautiful if I tried. There's another yelp and a soft bark. Seraphima giggles. Of course I remember. You had the fairy spell my name in the sky, and you had Queen Maureen make my favorite apple tart, but you didn't tell her that you'd stolen the apples from Absculio's orchard. She reaches down and absently starts patting Frump's head. What about the time I made you the biscuit for your birthday and I overcooked it into a pile of ash, and you still ate the whole thing because you didn't want me to feel bad? He waddles up the mattress until he is closer to Seraphima's face and licks her cheek. She blushes fiercely. You've always been so good to me, Frump, Seraphima whispers. How come I didn't see it until you were gone? Frump whimpers softly, and she shakes her head. The way you looked never mattered to me. I always knew, that it was you who lined my slippers up at the edge of my bed, and who made me breakfast, and who tidied my closet and washed my linens. So you're a dog. So what? You make me feel like the princess I always wanted to be. Although I probably shouldn't be eavesdropping, I can't help but smile. They sound the way Oliver and I did when he was still trapped in the book, and I would talk to him for hours beneath my covers. To anyone else listening, it might have sounded like a one-sided conversation, but we knew better. I fall asleep to the thump of Frump's tail and the sound of pure happiness. The sun has barely broke over the horizon when I am awakened by the sound of someone singing in an ear-splitting soprano. Welcome, welcome, big bright sun. Oh, this day will be such fun. Come to sing me their hellos, little birds with little toes. I crack open an eye to see Seraphima dancing, literally dancing around my bedroom. What are you doing? It's 6:30 freaking a.m. on a Sunday. Oh, good morning, Surf. I was just greeting the new day. She floats to the glass. It's the loveliest morning. I put a pillow over my head. It's still night. Go back to bed, Seraphima. Let's do this all over again in 4 hours. You are wrong. A lady rises with the sun. Seraphima sits down at my desk, trilling her lips in rising and falling scales. It is quite possibly the most annoying sound on the face of the earth. What are you doing? I grit out. If I don't warm up, how do you expect me to sing all day? I don't expect you to sing all day, I yell. When I raise my voice, Frump growls and Seraphima nods. I know, she is being excessively loud. I'm being loud, I repeat. She puts her hands under the curtain of her pale blonde hair and fans it out evenly over her shoulders. So I'm thinking I'd like a bun wrapped in a braid, maybe accented with a few flowers. I slip out of the sleeping bag and gather her hair in my hands. Ponytail it is, I say. This is completely unacceptable, Seraphima says. I'm telling Oliver that you're poorly suited as a housemaid. You'd do much better in a stable. That's it. I lunge for Seraphima, and for a second, I think I might get a slug in, but Frump grabs the back of my t-shirt with his teeth and hauls me back. Seraphima throws the window sash up and leans halfway out. Welcome, welcome, big bright sun. I slam the window shut. No, you might have grown up in a tower, but us peasants, we have neighbors, I sigh. Let's get you dressed. Frump is suddenly alert. I exchange a look with Seraphima and then drag Frump by his collar out of the bedroom door, leaving him in the hall. I open my dresser and I pull out a bra and underwear. Try these on, I suggest. Seraphima looks at me and then reaches for the bra, draping it over her ponytail and latching it under her chin like a bonnet. Not quite. I wrestle it off her head and I hold it up to my t-shirt to show her how it's done. Take off your gown and put these, I say, over those. For once, she does as she told, and then she turns around smiling. She's absolutely blushing. She's absolutely bursting out of my bra. I sigh. Of course your boobs are bigger than mine. I reach into my closet for the biggest sweatshirt I can find, the one I wear on my fat days. Take off the bra and put this on, I say, and cross your arms when you walk. Then I Skype Oliver, hoping the chimes on his computer will wake him up. He stumbles, bleary-eyed, hair askew in front of his screen. Why are you awake, he says. Because Little Miss Sunshine here is an early riser. If you come over, I'll cook you breakfast. Suddenly, Seraphima leans close to my laptop, pressing her hand against the screen. Oliver, she gasps, you're so flat. Hurry, I say, please. At first, Seraphima refuses to leave my bedroom because she doesn't believe leggings are actually acceptable clothing for women. I manage to entice her downstairs with the promise of food. By 7 a.m., I have cooked her an omelet, pancakes, bacon, and oatmeal, all of which she has devoured. I'm convinced that she is hollow. My mother comes into the kitchen wearing her Sunday clothes, a flannel shirt, and pajama pants. You're up early, she says, surprised to see me. And then her gaze falls on Seraphima. I thought Jules was sleeping over. No, remember? I told you about Seraphima, I lie. She's the exchange student who's living with us for a couple of days. We talked about this last week when you were getting ready for your date with Greg. God, you don't even listen to me anymore. Of course I remember, my mother says. I just forgot that it was this week. She smiles at Seraphima, speaking slow and loud. Where are you from, dear? She's Icelandic, Mom, not deaf. Seraphima turns to her. Are you the innkeeper? Innkeeper? Head of household? The words are almost Icelandic, identical in Icelandic. I interject. Seraphima holds out her hand. You are pleased to make my acquaintance. My mother laughs. I am. Welcome to America. She sees Frump curled up at Seraphima's feet with his snout resting on her thigh. Humphrey, shoo. It's quite all right. Frump and I are old friends, Seraphima says. It's crazy, I jump in. Apparently in Iceland, all dogs are called the same name, Frump. Seems like it would be confusing, but hey, to each his own. How long are you over here for, Seraphima? My mother asks. First, we have to find a way back into the book. A ticket, I finish. Book a ticket. I pull Seraphima up from her chair. We're off to the mall today, getting some souvenirs. Once I say it, I realize that this is a brilliant idea. Seraphima can't go around in my giant Nantucket sweatshirt forever, and we don't know how long she's going to be here. If I want to prevent as many questions as possible, the first step is to at least make her look like she fits in. My mother pours herself a cup of coffee and sits down across from Seraphima. I always wanted to go to Iceland. I heard that it's beautiful. What's it like where you grew up? Well, I lived alone in a tower overlooking the ocean, Seraphima says, but I could see everything from there. The pirates, the dragons, the mermaids. We are saved from imminent disaster by the ringing of the doorbell. My mother answers the door, and Oliver comes in, his cheeks red from the wind. Hello, Mrs. McPhee, he says. I dare say that you do look younger every time I see you. My mother blushes. Lila, where did you find this one? She asks, shaking her head, still carrying her coffee mug. She walks upstairs. Thanks, I say, kissing his cheek. You saved me from having to explain to my mother why Iceland has apparently become a scene from Game of Thrones. Why have we not played this game? It seems like a missed opportunity. I'd surely trounce you. Never mind, I replied. Let's go see if they found Jules in the book. To my great relief, the minute I open the book, Edgar is in the center of the Ever After beach, and standing beside him is Jules. At least, I think it's Jules. She doesn't look like my best friend ever looks. For one thing, she's wearing a ball gown. She's traded her signature Doc Martens for ballet slippers. Jules, who says ballet is just an excuse for an eating disorder, and her blue hair has a streak of silver running through it. Jules? I whisper. Okay, she says, pointing to Oliver. Suddenly, he makes a lot more sense. Seraphima stamps her tiny foot. That is my gown. Cool it, sister, Jules says. That's my friend. Orville steps forward. He's find it quite interesting. Edgar looks up at us. Seraphima took me to the copyright page to escape for a little while. I've never been to the copyright page, Oliver murmurs. Exactly, but that's besides the point. While we were there, something happened, he hesitates. There's a portal. Seraphima and I fell into one of those in the book, and from what I can tell, it's like a secret place between the worlds that is like a giant warehouse of ideas, thoughts, and images, and characters that never made it into the book, but that were in my mom's head. Your mom's head? Oliver and I exchange a glance, immediately thinking of Jessamine. Oliver clears his throat. Edgar, there's something you need to know. Your mother, she fell down. She had to go to the hospital. Edgar's jaw drops. Is she okay? What happened? She fainted. She said she forgot to eat that day, I say. She's much better now, really. But Edgar isn't convinced. He starts pacing on the page. I've got to get out. I've got to make sure she's all right. For Edgar to come out, however, means Oliver must go back. Somewhere deep down, I knew that Edgar would want to be with his mother again, once he heard the news. Sorry, I have a text message. Sorry, I had to answer that. It was important. Where was I? Oliver looks at me, and I know he's thinking the same thing. Maybe there's another way, he whispers to me. He turns to Seraphima. Edgar, you said you came through a portal. She shakes her head. It was just makeup. I raise my brows. Edgar? It really was makeup, but the container was labeled Heart's Desire. Seraphima must have been wishing for Oliver, and that's what brought her to you. I look at Seraphima, who is staring right at Frump. Oliver wasn't the one she was wishing for. That doesn't explain Jules, I say. Yes, it does, Oliver points out. Humphrey swapped with Frump. I swapped with Edgar. The only way for the book to eject a character is to suck something in similar enough to replace it. That's exactly why I'm going to lose him. But even if Oliver and Edgar look alike, Seraphima and Jules couldn't be more different. I glance at the silver streak in Jules' hair as if the replacement isn't similar. Will the book change itself to fit the mold? Why don't you just get the Heart's Desire, I ask, and wish Seraphima back in? Don't you think I've tried that, Edgar says. I've been to the copyright page a whole bunch of times, but the whirlpool that sucked us in before isn't there anymore. I don't know what made it open when it did. Oliver frowns. So basically, no one's going in or out. That's really not an option. I need to get home, Edgar says. It stands to reason if there's one portal in this book, there might be another one. He reaches for Jules' hands, and I watch her jaw drop. We're gonna find it. Seraphima stands in the atrium of the mall, her hands clasped in front of her and her eyes wide. I've never seen anything like this, she breathes. Before Oliver and I can stop her, she dashes down the main corridor, bouncing from shop window to shop window like a pinball in a machine. She waves at the mannequins as she passes, and at Bath and Body Works, when an employee offers a spritz of perfume, she happily accepts. Then she looks down at the woman. You may fix my hair now, Seraphima orders. There's an Ultima salon on the second floor, the employee suggests, and I link my elbow with Seraphima's to drag her away. Come on, princess, I say. There are two types of little kids that you see at the mall. The first kind shuts down from overstimulation, like when I brought Oliver to the mall and turned my back for a moment and found him sitting behind a bench where an elderly man has fallen asleep. The second kind thinks that she's landed in Disney World. She runs straight for the gumball machine and asks for 100 quarters. That's Seraphima. Where should we take her first, Oliver asks. Victoria's Secret. You can trust me, he says earnestly. I won't tell a soul. No, it's a store. I glance around and realize Seraphima has wandered away. Through the milling crowd, I catch a flash of silver blonde hair. That way, I say, and we rush towards her. We round the corner and find Seraphima on top of the miniature plastic castle that's part of the children's play zone. She stands atop a turret. shoving away toddlers. "Begone, trolls," she yells. "This is my kingdom." "Oh God," I groan. I step forward, but Oliver puts his hand on my shoulders. "I've got this," he says. He falls to one knee, hands on his heart. "Princess, oh princess," he calls, "come down from your tower." Seraphima's eyelashes flatter. "Oh yes, my mobile knight. I have been waiting for you all my life." The mothers surrounding the play zone, who have protectively curled their toddlers close after the arrival of Hurricane Seraphima, start to clap. Tentatively at first, and then louder. Seraphima steps down from the plastic toy structure and takes Oliver's hands, curtsying to the audience. She then spies something in the distance. "Oh, look," Seraphima exclaims, and she's off and running again. She darts towards the food court, zipping through the crowds. We attempt to chase her, but we're waylaid by lines of hungry shoppers and obstacle courses made of strollers and bags. "Delilah?" Oliver asks. "Why are we being followed?" I glance over my shoulder and see a woman with a white apron and a visor running behind us. "I don't know," I say as we finally locate our prey, peering into the window of the Tiffany & Co. store. "Seraphima!" She turns around, holding a tray full of Kung Pao chicken samples. The woman racing behind us skids to a stop, and I hand over the platter, apologizing. She shakes her head and walks away, muttering under her breath. "I'll wear that one," Seraphima announces, pointing to a glittering diamond tiara. At this, I laugh out loud. "Not even you can afford that, Your Highness." Oliver and I anchor Seraphima between us like a toddler, or a psychiatric patient, and steer her towards the lingerie store. As soon as we walk into Victoria's Secret, however, Oliver drops Seraphima's arm to cover his eyes. "Good God, Delilah," he says, hoarse. "This isn't decent." It is populated with dads, boyfriends, and husbands who are all stuck in purgatory of their significant other shopping. "Please don't go anywhere," I beg. "I can't worry about both of you." Seraphima and I head inside. I walk straight past the angel wings and lacy garter belts and sexy maids' outfits to the more serviceable underwear in the back. As I sift through the sale section, trying to estimate Seraphima's bra size, she flits from table to table, burying her hands in the piles of rainbow satin. She dances around me, holding up a pink corset trimmed with white lace. "Isn't this perfect?" she cries. I snatch it from her hands. "First off, this is $100. Second, if we wanted a corset, we'd use the one that you brought with you." I hold up a white cotton bra. "This is what you need." Seraphima frowns. "But I like this one," she says, pulling out the least functional bra that I have ever seen. It is hot pink with a tulle ruffle at the bottom, and it is bedazzled with gemstones that spell V on one boob and S on the other. I rip it out of her hands. "No," I say, "just no." Dragging her into the dressing room, I shut the door behind her and toss the white bra over the door. "Put it on." A moment later, the door opens, and there stands Seraphima wearing nothing on top but a white bra and a gigantic smile. "It's so free," she gasps. "Watch how much I can move." She twists from side to side, bends over, and then swings back upright. "I'm glad you like it. Now take it off so that I can pay." Instead, she shoves past me, running up to the other woman in the dressing room. She points to her chest. "Doesn't this look splendid?" she asks. Some of the other customers nod, but most pretend to ignore her. I pull her hand to keep her from exiting the dressing room and showing off her cleavage to the entire store. It is a struggle to convince Seraphima to put on the sweatshirt again, until I bribe her with the thought of buying new clothes too. Collecting Oliver, I start to walk to the Gap in search of a t-shirt. "Oh, this is perfect," Seraphima exclaims, and she runs to the far corner of the store, yanking a baby onesie off the rack. Soon around its waist is a tiny silver sparkling tutu. "This is Baby Gap. That wouldn't even fit you on one foot," I say. I walk to the adult area and find something I think will satisfy Seraphima's appetite for glitter. A pink shirt with a sequin star embezzled on the front. "Look, Seraphima," I say, "shiny." 15 minutes later, we leave the store with Seraphima decked out in her new t-shirt, as well as a pair of jeans that don't end at her calf and ballet flats. Every 5 steps, she squats or kicks or turns around. "Who is the ruler of this mall?" she asks. "I should like it very much to meet him and congratulate him on the invention of these jeans." "I don't know if we're going to have time for that," I mumble, "but I'll pass along the message." Oliver leans closer to me. "You know him?" Suddenly, Seraphima grabs the shopping bag I'm carrying with the clothes she wore into the mall and runs up to one of the bare-chested models standing outside of Abercrombie. Dear sir, she says, placing her hand on the guy's chest, I'm so sorry that you've fallen into such misfortune that you cannot even afford to clothe yourself. Please accept this small donation from me, and I hope things turn around for you soon. She offers a brilliant smile and presses the sweatshirt onto the model's hands. In that moment, I miss Jules so badly. 3 hours later, I explained to Seraphima that Free People is not a place to purchase servants, and that they do not sell princes at Express Men. Exhausted, I announced that we are going to get some coffee at the food court. Seraphima immediately blanches. Then I must prepare myself first. Oliver glances at her. You look lovely, he says, in a tone that lets me know he's had to say this very thing 1,000 times before. But I can't meet the king and queen looking so unkempt. It's not that kind of court, I explain. When Seraphima looks disappointed, I tell her that she can pick where we eat. Unfortunately, she interprets this to mean that it's perfectly all right to order from every stall that sells food. I watch her navigate the tables with a tray piled high with chicken fingers, pizza, hot pretzels, fried rice, and egg rolls, French fries, a Big Mac, and a chocolate shake. For a princess, I say to Oliver, she eats like a trucker. Seraphima flounces down at the table and picks up a corn dog. She holds it like an ear of corn and nibbles around the edges like a hamster. I bump Oliver's shoulder with mine and grin up at him. So how does it feel to officially have survived the worst nightmare of most teenage guys, a shopping day with your girlfriend? He glances sidelong at Seraphima, cringing slightly as she puts an entire chicken finger in her mouth at once. Technically, he says, that's not my girlfriend. He reaches for my hand and squeezes it on the bench between us. Besides, I don't know what those fellows would be complaining about. A whole day with you? That sounds absolutely perfect to me. He leans towards me, and I tilt my chin up for a kiss. You, please, Seraphima interrupts. She is staring at us with revulsion and talking with her mouth full. I'm trying to eat. I'm beginning to understand why you wanted to leave home, I murmur to Oliver. Just when I think that things can't get any worse, Allie McAndrews sashays into the food court, like the lead goose in a formation flying south for the winter. Her entourage fans out behind her, moving in unison, each holding a tray with a bottle of water on it and nothing else. I told Seraphima that there is no queen in this court, but she just arrived. As if she has radar, Allie manages to home in directly on our table where we're sitting. Her eyes narrow at the sight of me with Oliver, and she makes a beeline for us. Girls, this table seems to be free. Do you see anyone here? Because I don't. She slams her purse down between me and Seraphima. Allie, Oliver says, perhaps you need spectacles. Forget it, I interrupt. Let's just go. But Seraphima doesn't budge. She looks Allie over from head to toe, fascinated. I that outfit, Allie. Allie finally notices that someone is sitting with Oliver and me. Who are you? Oh God. Seraphima's an exchange student from Iceland. She's staying with me for a little bit. One of Allie's clones leans towards Seraphima. You have the most beautiful hair. Immediately, Allie's eyes flash and she turns around. Chloe, she hisses. Seraphima smiles. It's quite all right. My hair is beautiful. My jaw drops. I'm actually enjoying this. It's like watching the Clash of the Titans. I can practically feel a force field of anger bristling around Allie. She purses her lips, considering Seraphima's corn dog. You really should watch what you eat, she says sweetly. You wouldn't want to lose your figure. Seraphima blinks innocently. It's the funniest thing. No matter how much I eat, it just goes to my breasts. She peers at Allie and then turns to me. Is it normal here for girls to have a mustache like boys? I practically spit out my drink. Oliver stands up and grabs Seraphima's arm, hauling her upright. We're going to go before somebody loses an eye. Seraphima frowns, but I'm not done eating. Delilah will bake you a cake when we get home. Allie and her clique float into our places like an heirloom linen being spread across the dining room table and settling all at once. Well, Seraphima says, looks like we must move along. It's been a lovely meeting all of you common folk. She leans closer to Allie. And this really is a perfect location for you. The only other people are 5 tables away, and you look so much better from a distance. She tosses her a perfect, genuine white smile, leaving Allie speechless. We walk off beside Seraphima and Oliver, knowing that Allie is staring at us as we go. Maybe having Oliver's ex around has its perks. The minute we step through the door of my house, Frump starts barking. He circles Seraphima in her new outfit, sniffing her jeans and biting at the tail of her t-shirt. "Stop," she cries. "Frump, you'll rip it." He barks and sits back on his haunches. "Well, I think I look rather fetching," she argues, crossing her arms. Oliver intervenes. "Frump, she can't flounce around here in a gown all day without drawing attention to herself. And," Seraphim adds, "look at what I can do in this outfit." She lunges and stretches as if she's about to run a marathon. Frump shakes his head so hard that his jowls flap. He lets out a pitiful yelp. A tiny frown mars across Seraphima's flawless face. "I don't care. I love this place. I love what I'm wearing, and I'm staying forever." "You can't," Oliver says immediately. "You don't belong here. And we need to get Jules back," I chime in. "You don't belong here either," Seraphima tells Oliver, her eyes filled with tears. "I've never gotten to be myself. I've always been the princess everyone expected me to be. Even the prince in my story didn't love me. For once, don't I deserve to be happy?" Frump starts barking so loud that I'm certain the neighbors can hear him. "What's he saying?" I whisper to Oliver, but neither Frump nor Seraphima is paying attention to us. "What was wrong with being ourselves in the fairy tale?" "Everything," Seraphima wails. He bares his teeth, growling low in his throat. "Maybe I'm not becoming someone different," Seraphima says to Frump. "Maybe this is who I always was." He yips and turns in a circle, looking pleadingly at her. "But we are talking," she answers. "We're talking right now." Frump goes very still, and his head hangs low, the tip of his ears dragging on the ground, his tail tucked between his legs. The fight goes out of Seraphima. She sinks to the ground, lifting his snout in her hands. "No," she admits, "I guess you can't talk to me. But what would you say to me there that you can't say here?" Frump raises his nose to the ceiling, his white throat bare. He howls, his long tongue looping awkwardly around the vowels in a way that almost sounds like human speech. "I rub you," he howls. Stricken, I watch this scene unfold before me. There was a time briefly when Frump was a boy again and Seraphima was the girl he loved, and he didn't muster the courage to tell her how he felt. And now it's too late. What would happen if people we were meant to love were in the right place at the right time? What if we told each other before it was too late? How come love is never simple? I watch emotions flicker over Seraphima's face. Shock, pain, regret, and love. I know she loves him, and I know what it feels like to think that no matter what, you're never going to get the chance to be together the way you want again. I feel Oliver's hand reach for mine, and I know that he's thinking the same thing. Tears streak down Seraphima's face. Caught in a storm of feelings, she stumbles to her feet, opens the front door, and begins to run. No matter how fast she goes, I know she won't be able to outdistance her own thoughts. Frump leaps to his feet and dashes out the door, following Seraphima before Oliver or I have the presence of mind to grab his collar. He barks, and then he barks again, trying to get her attention. Finally, she stops and faces him. He pauses in the middle of the street, panting, just staring at her, and in that moment, it doesn't really matter that there are no words. None of us sees the car coming. All right, that's it for today, because we are going to be on a new chapter tomorrow. That, and I got some messages I have to go answer. Alrighty, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.